$25 an hour men. They're not $40 to $60 an hour, as these are what our road workers and our police get. These are volunteers. They don't get anything. And I think that that's what we need to realize. And we're very grateful that, at least I am very grateful that our fire departments are about volunteer fire departments, but the handwriting is on the wall. But in the meantime, I think that this is done in Peters Township. No, we're not Peters Township, but this is something that we can certainly consider. Each fire department, or I'm sorry, the fire departments in Peters Township, if there's more than one, get $30,000 toward the end of the year for the volunteers that they are able to disperse among themselves as they wish. Gives them an opportunity to buy Christmas presents for their families and do whatever. And I think that this is something that we should consider. These are volunteers, they get nothing. What it would be doing would be giving each fire department $10,000.
My understanding is that it's not going to wash the fire trucks, it's for making calls. And you get points for making calls. Everybody gets points, and at the end of the year, the number of calls, the number of points, and they just divvy up the money, and you get maybe a $500 check to buy your kids some toys for Christmas, or your wife flowers, or whatever you want.
I'm not saying that that's not true, but I heard a different story from some people in Peters.
But you can volunteer for shifts, you get points, and they do change things. There's a couple different programs, but we have got, you don't want to get to the point, well, in Dormont, Mount 11, they actually give them what, W-2s or W-4s, whatever it is, because now you can't do a 1099, but there are different ways, and we're, like I said, we're not copying Peters, but I know they're compensating volunteers, exactly how and when.
Upper St. Clair's done it since the 70s.
Yes.
You earn $3, $4, $5 a call.
Yeah.
Or a detail, or a meeting, or a training session. But it requires the fire company to have very good records.
Right, and we do. I mean, now we're at that point, I know I can speak for our department.
It has to be done electronically through a software program that can be audited.
Yep.
Because there will be inaccuracies.
And even the quell fights in our own station. If you don't make points, he wants to get 500, I'll get 100, and we're going to be able to print out the report. But I mean, that's the kind of things we're looking at down the road, and that's to keep, all we're talking about is the retention of volunteer firefighters, to get them to go to the call to Hilton Garden Inn at 3 in the morning instead of one guy in the truck. You still get 3 or 4 guys in the truck. Because, yeah, I'm getting up at 3, but at the end of the year, I'm going to, it adds up.
Well, if the fire department would develop the program and have the program, I'm sure that's something that, we can look at. But do you guys have points programs now?
Yes, we do.
We haven't started, but I'm looking at doing something.
No, we decided, Cecil had decided against it a few years, or more than a few years ago. But that's something that we can all look at.
And this came under the of taking care of the people you have now in the short term to make sure you have people responding to calls. That's an extra incentive,
That's right.
And that's all we're talking about. We're not talking about paying full-time people. We're not talking about this. But it may get to the point where we're going to ask people to stay within 5 miles of your house on a Saturday or a night or a day. And somehow, if they do that, then that goes into a shift or whatever. You get points for that, because we want to be able to require that there's 3 to 5 people to make a call.
Well, as long as obviously if all 3 companies agree, it has to be consistent across the board, so sure.
What, they're not going to agree to get $30,000?
Well, they may not agree to do the same.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
And we're not stuck on minutia. We just gave that as general. We were talking generalities. So that means 30,000 would be 10,000 per department, and each department would be divvy up that 10,000 to their people. So
And I think it's a wonderful idea.
And no one's going to get over 500 to more than that.
And we want to keep you as long as
Hey,
you
Bill,
will.
you're gonna have to promise, you talk about the guys who get older, you're gonna have to promise to stop that aging then on the good volunteers.
Yeah, but we're talking about short-term fixes, and we're talking in generalities and recruitment and retention. And as we talked to Elizabeth, that common software would solve a lot of this issue, and it would also, we're missing the boat on grants, and Elizabeth knows that.
Yes.
Until we get our grants, we should be 3 departments grant-wide to get a lot of these federal grants. There are grants to pay for volunteer firefighters. When I say pay, these type of programs we're talking about. There's job sharing, there's all kinds of
Eddie
stuff.
sent
Eddie
it too late.
sent he sent it to you.
Yeah, he got it in July or August, and it was due in October.
No, but
and
he sent
October.
that woman's name.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah, me too. But that's what I'm saying, like, we have a grant woman who's worked with Ed Coburg who we can use going forward for those types of
And I have
things.
one tonight, I have one that you asked for the other day, I did bring it
Yeah,
up.
I mean, that's great. And
But
these are
the
all
point
things
is, we
can
need
work
direction
towards.
from the township, because they may pay for you may get a grant and they pay for 2 people for 2 years or 3 years. But then you have to fight where they go, who gets them, how do they respond, so it's just not as easy as.
But I think that all goes back, and I think I know we talked about this in the meeting, it all goes back to that study.
Well, right.
Until we know the direction, whether we're keeping 3 separate or we're having 1 combined with 3 or 4 different locations, like, that
Right.
all goes back, and before we can do any of this other stuff, we need to understand what the needs of the township, because we can be writing grants and getting money for things that we don't need, or we could be getting grants for stuff and we need other things. So I think until we figure out what the heck we're doing with that study, we can talk about this point system, or we can talk about all this other stuff until we're blue in the face. We really have to do that study. That's what it comes down to.
Well, you're mixing apples and oranges. There's some short-term stuff that we can do, it doesn't take a study. It doesn't take rocket science to figure out that there are not enough people responding to calls. In the big picture, all 3 departments have enough manpower to do every job that we need to do, except for one thing. We're not all here at the same time when the issue, the incident arises. That's our biggest problem, is having manpower when you need it, as you need it.
Isn't that what the study's going to look at? So how am I mixing apples and oranges?
Okay, the $30,000. That's an incentive you could give tonight. This year, we can divvy it up. We have a point system. And I'm not saying that's the
But
end all.
not all of you do. That's what I'm saying, like, we
But
are working with,
that's a different thing altogether than the study.
we're working, but it's not, because we're working with 3 separate fire departments. So you have a point system that Muse doesn't and Cecil doesn't. So if we give $30,000, you're splitting it with your guys who are for this X, Y, and Z, and then Cecil's getting mad because their guys split it differently, and then Muse is getting mad because their guys, we have to, and this is my personal opinion, do with it what you will, and we have to figure out how everybody can work together and on the
But
same.
Cindy, I'm not talking about ironclad stuff. We're just talking about stuff that can be done. I'm not saying I need 30,000 tomorrow to do this for that, but if you don't address these issues, and then you can wait 9 months for a study.
He's trying to talk.
Yeah, I'm not saying that is a concrete example. We're talking in generalities here. We're talking about providing a financial incentive. We're talking about taking care of the volunteers we have and recruiting volunteers, because I don't care what the study says, the volunteers aren't going away. So, and they are the best bet, dollars to donuts or whatever you want to call it, to keep. And so there are programs. Like I said, it takes 296 hours now to go through essentials and firefighter 1. Can't we pay a guy $500 or $1,000 if he gets that certificate? But that's something we can work as a township. We have different systems, so that's why I asked for the common software. It gives Dawn and you guys access to all the records. It gets all the records together for a grant. I mean, we're talking about baby steps. I'm not saying we don't need a study. I'm for the study. There's no doubt about it. And it may come down to 3 different ways. We all have good ideas and they all work, but sometimes the best idea may be too expensive. Or the easiest fix is out of our price.
We understand that a study would not address whether the township wants to give money for the volunteers. That's not what the
That's not what I
study
was
is.
saying.
No, again, the study is 9 months away. If you hired a company today, it's going to take 6 to 9 months to a year for them to do it. So I'm talking addressing short-term issues of the people here that are showing up at 3 in the morning and going to fires during the
So
day or
you're
whatever.
talking specifically about the money that you want the
No, I'm
volunteers
talking about it's all pieces of the puzzle, and we're working together, and that's what the meeting was about.
What's your short-term, like, you're telling me I'm talking apples and oranges. I really want to understand what it is you want right now.
I want direction from we need to have a direction of how we're going, because right now we're 3 independent fire companies, and right now I'm only going to take care of Lawrence. We need to start bridging the gap where we 3 work together on common goals. We don't need 3 ladder trucks. Maybe we only need 1 ladder truck in Cecil. That's the kind of things in the
But
big
no,
picture.
isn't that something that would be answered by the study? That's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking how we join 3 fire departments. I'm not asking.
No, I'm talking about
You're telling me there's something short-term right now that okay, we're gonna move forward with the study. What right now are you asking?
I told you that 3 times.
Yeah, I told you, the short
Some
term,
sort of incentive,
the financial
But then
incentive.
when I asked him that, he said no.
No, I said
Well, I'm
financial
gonna- I'm
incentives
gonna
for
make a
training
motion, please.
and for end of year. And
I'm gonna
that was just a
make a
suggestion, that wasn't, I'm not gonna say there's 30 people gonna come through the door because they're gonna get $500 for 5,000 hours of work. It
Wouldn't it
doesn't
be
work
nice
that
if
way.
that worked like
I
that?
did have a question for you too, though, is the fact that I wasn't able to attend the last meeting, okay? I wish I could have been there. But we did give another meal to the fire departments. And I don't know if this question came up at the meeting because I wasn't there. Was there something that you could tell us, each department could tell us how they were able to benefit from the extra money? And what it was used for, basically?
Debt reduction, number one. Everybody's paying off their bills first, and this is the long-term study that Cindy's talking about, and I agree.
Wait, I'm talking about the $30,000 to try to recruit new
In
firemen
all
and
honesty,
to give
I,
something to the volunteers. I want to make a motion now, if I can, please.
hold on, and I see where you're going, but we're
if
talking
you make a
generally.
motion, I'll rule out of order, and we'll vote on it until we discuss this.
And here's the fine line we're doing. I can take care of my department. I know my books. I don't know their books. I could take 10 grand out of that raise you gave us and give it to the department. But with that's why we brought up the meeting in front of all 3 departments. I don't want to do something they're not doing. I don't want to do something they're not doing. I don't believe that's how you directed us to give the money.
I don't think that's what the money was for.
Exactly,
We gave the money,
but you're saying,
to try to help you,
what
to
could
try
I
to
do?
help you with what equipment or anything that you could use,
Well,
you know?
you can
and
have
that's what
five-
I-
We're going to end this discussion right now, because that's a matter for us to meet with the fire department.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I couldn't make it either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my point is, if you have, it doesn't matter if you buy us 2 brand new trucks if you don't have anybody to get on. And, you know, I think we're getting a little circuitous route here.
We're
But
going
we're
to
just
say,
saying an example, that's why we thought the 30,000 was something that if the township was comfortable with it, again, that wasn't an exact figure. This is all we're talking
all
about.
right, we got to set up another meeting.
Right, and we need to know what type of long-term, I need to know what long-term budgeting I have.
I mean, if I'm being
No,
honest,
that's-
and this
Yeah,
is
go ahead.
just real quick, like, this is a little bit frustrating to me because Elizabeth and I sat through a meeting, I thought we came to some sort of understanding and agreement, and now I feel
On
like,
what?
that this was stuff that was gonna come up at budget time, that we had to work towards the study, that we had to agree, there were certain things, and now I don't have the notebook in front of me that I used at that point in time, but I feel a little bit like you're changing course on us, and now, like,
I don't, we're going to the budget meeting to talk about all this stuff. We're not asking for anything tonight. We're talking in generalities. What can be done to help the fire service in this township?
We're not getting any new members from the plans at all.
right. No,
Right,
and
and-
that's all something that was addressed at the meeting, and I feel like we're rehashing it in a different
Well,
way
there's,
right now.
it's a public meeting, and there's a lot of people who weren't privy to it, and we're just trying to explain where we're coming from, the direction we want to go. But, and that's separate from the study, because there are short-term things that as a township we can look into doing. That's the bottom line. It's not, gotta do this tonight, gotta do that, but we ought to have an open mind to some things.
All right, we're going to end this conversation on this. We will meet
Okay.
again on it.
All those videos are on YouTube too, of that their meeting that they had here the other night.
Good. Anybody else have anything that we have to act on?
No.
We got to go to that executive session
No, I'm done.
for those 2 items. One item is to talk about the Hofferty property. And the other one is,
Sell to,
Just an update on the status conference for
yeah,
clear. You'll be quick.
all right.
sell on the road property. The property that we bought from Fran Reservoir,
All right.
that somebody wants to buy.
Oh, okay, all right, we don't even have a description. Yeah, they just made an offer.
Yeah. I'm aware.
You guys can go.
I'm going over there.